Hello again to all subscribers and listeners of this channel. You are listening to Obsidian Radio, and today we shall go over Attack on Titan Season 3, Episode 20, entitled That Day. And this ends up being a very emotional, intense flashback episode. An episode that deals with ghettos, martial law, lots of foreshadowing, and that's the word, aftershadowing, emotional pain, the increasingly emotional instability of Grisha Yeager and how that affects Eren in the current story. I mean, this episode tied together so many interesting things that happened before Eren Yeager was even born, our main character. Very interesting indeed that we get to get this perspective from the father of the main protagonist. So, without any more being said, let's dive deep into what happened in this very profound, emotional, but very intense flashback episode. First thoughts. So my first thoughts were, okay, so we're getting what looks like an entire episode flashback. Not only that, but we're getting a flashback of one of the most important characters within Attack on Titan so far, who has been in the background but still plays a major role, and that is from Eren Yeager's father, Grisha Yeager. So let's see. So now on to a synopsis of the plot. So, Attack on Titan episode 20, entitled That Day. It opens up with Grisha and his younger sister Faye wandering around their town, at least where they're allowed to. They walk up a flight of stairs into a zone that they apparently weren't supposed to go into, and they witness the, launching of a Zeppelin being transferred from its hangar. Unfortunately for the two, there are two officers that show up, and they immediately ask if they're allowed to be in that area. Do they have any papers? Can they be identified, etc.? After seeing that they shouldn't be in that area, Grisha is immediately and very violently punished by Kruger, one of the two men, the taller two men with the blonde hair, for being in the wrong area at the wrong time. Faye is then led away somewhere off screen by Sergeant Gross, the other man with the curly handlebar mustache. Later, Grisha finds out that Faye was found dead with her dismembered body parts in a river. When he's taken home, he and his parents are fed a story about Faye's death that none of them actually believe, but only Grisha expresses any type of anger over what he's pretty sure believes happened to Faye, or at least the fact that he believes she was murdered and that he also believes that they were blatantly lied to. He also got pissed off at how submissive his parents were to these two men, but really couldn't do anything about it. His father then tries to impress upon him the history of the people and why they're treated the way they are. AKA the Eldian people were supposed to be devils who apparently in the ancient past actually ruled over the place with the iron fist. They were very destructive, very, carnivorous of the other people in the world. So as far as Grisha's father was concerned, they are paying or atoning for the sins of the ancestors. And for Grisha, he very blatantly objects to this idea and doesn't believe any of it at all. He pleads with his father to accept the truth, but Grisha is not able to convince him, and he says, okay, I'm not going to fight anymore. I'll take whatever you say. And this is about when Grisha is about 10 years old, where deep down he doesn't believe anything that's being told to him anymore, but he has to at least pretend to follow the story that they've been told about their wickedness, their evilness, their devilishness, and that they deserve to be treated this way in these internment zones. 8 years later, when Grisha takes over his father's medical business, he encounters a patient named Grice, who informs him about the Eldian restorationists, and he also informs him that he and the owl can pretty much prove that yes, Grisha's sister, in fact, was murdered by the man with the curly mustache, the military guys that rule over the Marlene area, especially the internment zone where the Eldians are kept captive. So in anger and curiosity, Grisha goes down into the underground area and joins the restorationists. And he quickly becomes one of the most intense and strong leaders of this restorationist group. Soon, according to things done by the owl, Dina Fritz, I prefer to call her Dina, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right, but whatever. Dina or Dinah Fritz, a blonde, very attractive woman of royal lineage, joins the Eldian restorationist group. She and Grisha fall in love, and they later have a son. It's during this entire time that Dina tells the group many different things, many different aspects about Marley, the Eldian people, the Great War, and some aspects about Titan physiology that only people of the royal blood would actually know. She teaches them and informs them, and this gives them a lot more morale about how to fight the Marleyans and take back power to give it back to the Eldians. At the same time, she and Grisha are indoctrinating their son Zeke to believe everything that they believe is going on in the restorationist organization. Unfortunately, they get outed by Zeke, their own son, and every member of the restorationist group is rounded up and arrested. The entire organization is brought to the wall where they are injected with the Titan serum, thrown off the wall, and they transform into mindless Titans. Soon, Dina is brought forward, and with the crying eyes and a slight smile on her face, she's injected and kicked down the wall, but only as she tells Grisha that she promises she will find him. It is soon after that she becomes the Smiling Titan, all to Grisha's horror. Immediately, Eren wakes up screaming in his prison cell next to the cell that Mikasa's in. And as soon as he wakes up, Mikasa and Armin wake up because they hear her scream. And he's wondering, was he daydreaming? Was he getting a past memory? He's not sure what was going on. All he knows is that he saw his father grieving as his wife Dina was being turned into a Titan. Was Eren seeing this? We're not sure. But we're not sure if Eren was getting a memory, was getting something being sent to him telepathically, we're having a bad dream, we don't know. But he apparently was dreaming this as we were being told this about Grisha's history. So that's in the current state, or in the current timeline. We flash back to Grisha on the wall. Soon it's Grisha's turn to be turned into a Titan. He is about to be transformed. Right when he's about to be transformed, Kruger saves him and throws the other guy, Gross, the Marleyan soldier, over the edge to be eaten by the Peering Titan, someone who was just turned into a Titan only a few moments ago. He then tells Grisha some things about the Titans before he himself, Kruger, exposes that he is the owl. He then transforms himself into a Titan, a 15-meter class, very muscular with green eyes, very similar to Eren's attack, very similar to Eren's Titan. He takes up a ship, destroys it, and kills dozens of Marleyan soldiers around him. The episode ends with Kruger and his Titan destroying the ship while he's holding it over his shoulders. Now, here are the interesting things that I noticed. Interesting things that I noticed. 1. There was no intro to this episode, which kind of interesting, but kind of makes sense, considering that what's in the intro, it has not really much to do with what's going on in this particular episode. Very interesting, but I think that was a wise choice. Number 2, how paradise, I'm not sure. How is it supposed to be pronounced? I'm a little confused. So apparently the island that the 3 walls are situated on is Paradise or Paradis Island, an island that's just somewhat northeast of a greater continent where Marley is situated. And the island's name is pronounced, it's either Paradis or Paradise, or actually it isn't supposed to be either of those from what I understand. So it's not supposed to be pronounced Paradis or Paradise. Apparently it's supposed to be pronounced Paradis. The last letter is silent, or is it? Because in this episode, in the beginning, at around 2:25 mark, Kruger pronounces it as Paradise. But later, at about 13:05, and another point at about 4.5 minutes in, Kruger at 13:05 and Eren and Grisha's father at about 4.5 minutes in, they both pronounce it as Paradis. The S is silent. So I'm not sure which one it is. I'm a little confused. Maybe there's a translation error when they dubbed it. I'm not sure. If anybody can confirm that, let me know. Also, the Marleyan people apparently are of a different bloodline, that if they were given Titan serum, nothing would happen. At least we can assume. Whereas the Eldians were getting the Titan serum because of their specific genetics. It allows them to be transformed into a Titan as soon as they're injected. This is what it appears to be. Number 3. The Eldian Restorationists were the Titans that we see attack the district in Season 1. The bald Santa Claus looking Titan, the one that swallowed Eren the first time he transformed. The blonde abnormal that like jumped up really fast and ate Thomas, again in Season 1. And this was like right before Eren's first rampage in his Titan form. The large-eyed, I think they call it the Peering Titan, that also appears in Season 1. And when you see the image, you see what I'm talking about. Look at the faces, same exact people. You see the same exact people. And of course, last but not least, the Smiling Titan. It's pretty much confirmed that that's Dina Fritz. Grisha Yeager's pretty much Grisha Yeager's first wife. And what I guess would have been Eren's stepmother. Apparently that's the Titan that came in, wrecked his house, and then ate Eren's actual mother. That's insane. And actually very depressing and very messed up. Damn. But yeah, that's what that was. All those Titans that we saw from all the way back in Season 1. From the first episode to like episode 12 or 13 or so. That's all the restorationists that worked with Grisha all that time ago. That's crazy. Number 4. The obvious references to Nazi Germany in the 1930s and 40s are all over the place. Like, for instance, if you look at the armbands that they're forced to wear, the treatment they receive from the Marleyan people as Eldians, the visits that they get from military, police, guard units, sergeants, whatever you want to call them, the Liberio internment zone, I believe it's called, similar to internment zones that you see in martial law or imperial empires. Even the way Grisha is dressed kind of reminds me of Fievel from the American Tale, that old movie from decades ago. It all gives off that really like dramatic, damaging, early 20th century World War I, World War II vibe. Very interesting. Number 5. Poor Dina. Her fate is actually the horrible one. So, she is of royal blood, joins Restorationist group trying to rebuild everything that the Eldians are supposed to have and try to resurrect Eldia. She gets found out and outed by her own son, gets arrested, gets turned into a Titan in front of her own husband, wanders all over the place as a mindless Titan, finds her husband's house, finds his wife, eats her, finds Eren again, who ate his own father, briefly awakens the power that Eren has inside of him from what Grisha did prior when he took the Titan form from the royal family. She then gets eaten in Season 2 by all those Titans while remaining in her Titan form. That is supremely messed up. But it's good writing, but man, when you think about it, that is some really sad and very messed up, depressing stuff when you think about it. But okay. Also, I have a theory, and to me it makes total sense. The reason as to why she's able to find her way towards Eren technically twice, was because of her royal blood. If one goes back and looks closely at the abilities of Historia, her older half-sister Frida, and her father Rodriguez, they all had these two abilities if you pay close attention. One was the ability to alter someone else's memories. Frida actually did this to Historia when she was younger. And they also seem to have this ability to form some type of mental connection between themselves and someone else that they have a strong bond with. So, as far as I can see, because Dina is royal-blooded and of royal lineage, it looks like she maintained the second ability in her Titan form. Her ability to form a connection with someone and continue to somehow find them or find their general area, even while she was a mindless Titan. This explains to me why she was able to locate Eren's general vicinity both times. Both in Season 1, Episode 1, and later on in Season 2 when we see her again. She was still linked to the aura or the memories of Grisha Yeager, who was inside Eren at the time. Eren his second son. Number 6. The emotional and psychological neglect / abuse inflicted by some parents can be very dangerous indeed. The torments and the abuse that Grisha faced as a child turned him into an aggressive, angry, and somewhat unstable young man. And when Grisha is in his anger towards Marley, tried to indoctrinate his own son into hating Marley. He never notices until later that he was neglecting his own son. He didn't see him as his son, he saw him as a tool to be used to free the Eldian people. And he just didn't realize how damaging that was. But he also may have turned his own son into an angry and very troubled young man later on. But only time will tell if we see Zeke later on again. When one is treated like a monster, it's pretty common that that same person becomes a monster later on. A very ugly cycle that continues. Number 7. So they know how to make the Titans a particular size. So I'm curious, how did they figure out how to do that? And what's inside the spinal fluid that determines the size of a Titan when they transform? It's very interesting. I'd love to figure out how that works. Number 8. Grisha seems to have the same issues with his anger the way Eren does. Like father, like son. And this is an example of how it's creepy yet totally sensible, or not sensible, but believable when it comes to how much of our parents' behavior is mirrored by us without us being fully aware of it or fully realizing it. Very interesting. And number 9. Eldians have their own version of history, whereas Marley has had their own version of history. Neither can be totally confirmed to be true nor false. So not only is this genius writing by Asayama Hajime, but it perfectly mirrors what happens in actual conflicts between people all over the globe throughout history in real life. Amazingly good writing. Now I'm going to say this. In my opinion, I feel like the whole contract with the devil thing, or a contract with whatever it is, I think both sides are going a little bit too far off with that idea. That seems really silly to me. It sounds more like this is some type of technology or some type of science that someone's working with. So therefore, I'm not sure exactly who's right, because both sides could be absolutely off as far as I'm concerned. But I feel like I'm leaning slightly more towards the Eldian story, only because if all these ideas about devils and whatever is true, what Marley's saying, how did Marley gain so much knowledge about how Titans work, how to create one, how to control them, etc.? How did they gain all that knowledge if all these things that they say about the Eldians is true? That doesn't seem right to me. It seems like they have too much knowledge that they shouldn't have if the Eldians are truly these demonic people. But that's just my opinion. It might change in the future, who knows? But that's just my opinion of it. Now, as far as the animation quality, superb animation. Not a single flaw I could think of. Everything looked perfect in the way it was drawn. To me, it's pretty much perfection. The best thing about the episode, I would say, it was actually 2 things. One, how well it fleshed out the anger, frustration, and increasing intensity that was welling up in a young and troubled Grisha Yeager. Another good example of well-crafted character development and very good storytelling. That's 1. 2, then there's the brilliant job that the episode did of showing a glimpse of life for an Eldian under the Marleyan authority and inside the internment camps made specifically for Eldian people. This conflict between the oppressed Eldians and the Marley martial law so beautifully replicates the type of behavior we've witnessed in events like the Rwandan genocide, the rule of Nazi Germany, the rule of Pol Pot in Cambodia. There's the destruction that was done to the Native Americans in the United States. This mirrors a lot of that very well. An excellent portrayal of some of these same type of attitudes, in my opinion. Worst about the episode, I know this may seem kind of nitpicky, but when it comes to the voice actors, and I know a lot of voice actors do this because it's faster or cheaper for the studio to do that, but it just seems a little odd when an adult male voice actor tries to sound like a little kid, and it's like saying, it sounds a little bit weird to me, considering how deep his voice is when he tries to go high pitched. It's a little odd, but it's not a big deal, I guess. Now, as far as my favorite scene is most definitely when Kruger is the one that actually throws Gross off the wall and saves Grisha from being thrown off the wall and turned into a Titan. Very eye-opening turning point of a scene, especially considering that this guy Kruger knew Grisha since Grisha was a young child. He beat him badly when they first met, but later saves him from being turned into a Titan as an adult. Very interesting. As far as a 1 out of 10 score, or 1 to 10 score, I'd give this episode a 9.5 out of 10, almost perfect. Everything was pretty much on point except the voices. The voice acting was really good. The voices just sound kind of odd for the kids when they're children. Other than that, very nicely done episode. Overall summary is, here's what I think. Overall, I love this episode and its ability to flesh out who Grisha Yeager was and what made him into the person that he was. It also showed us the struggle of the Eldian people. It showed us what was going on with the restorationists. It showed us the story of who the Eldian people were, how it can be hidden, how it can be rewritten, and how it can be retold according to who's telling the story. It showed us how clouded the thinking is, and how that clouded thinking and anger can and will blind you to your actions when it comes to how you treat other people. It showed us a slow but intense progression of increasingly emotionally damaged and unstable Grisha Yeager. It also showed how cruelty towards others can manifest itself in so many different ways from multiple different sides and angles and viewpoints. And also, one thing I almost forgot to point out, the guy Gross, his character shows you exactly how messed up and how absolutely disgusting and just damaged and soulless some human beings can be towards other human beings, especially when they consider those human beings that they mistreat to be less than human. Very good character. Very irritating character. You find it very easy to hate him, but it also is very enlightening when you see, yes, there are people that are like that, and there are people that think that way, whether they're imaginary or not. Again, very good episode, very good storytelling, and there was just so much wealth of knowledge and storytelling in this episode. Again, I consider this episode beautifully done from beginning to end. Only a few minor flaws, but other than that, nicely done. And that's all for now. Please like, subscribe, share, and donate to support this channel. You all have a nice day. I'm out. Peace.